Hey, boys and girls. I forgot I don't have my teeth in. Oh, Lord. I'm going to have to be like this while I read to y'all. I'm not vain, but I really do look like a grandma without my teeth. So it's going to sound funny when I read. You hear me? Oh, Lord, I even left the bright lights on. We have the candles firing up. It's almost midnight. I wanted to tell y'all about this book. I was thinking, oh, I could read this. This is one of the best books I have ever read. Yeah, it's a little on the thick side, but I bet some of y'all have seen the movie. Read the book. I can't read it to you because it's not in public domain. I cannot. I thought I was done for the day, and I said, I got to get in here and read to these people. Okay, I'm going to hold the book up like this. Sorry. Oh, what a day it has been. I've been from high to low to in between. My grandma used to put her tongue up in there when she didn't have her teeth in. I'm talking like when she was going to surgery or something. Okay, quit moving around. I can't not read to y'all. Especially on my 1K day. It's still 1K day. Over 1K. It is 11:53, maybe. Okie dokie, I'm waiting on it to come up. I'm going to sound crazy reading without my teeth. Just pretend I'm one of the maids or something. Mrs. Medlock without any teeth. Alright, now, my bookmark moved. Dang it. Wait a minute. Well, dang. Hang on. Got to find it. It was supposed to stay marked. And it didn't. Okay, I see that something's marked, so I'm going to hope this is right. They had run into the gardener fella, right? Can I go in them? Asked Mary. If thou likes, but there's now to see. Mary made no response. She went down the path and through the second green door. There she found more walls and winter vegetables. I'm laughing about my talking. And winter vegetables and glass frames. But in the second wall there was another green door, and it was not open. Perhaps it led into the garden which no one had seen for 10 years. As she was not at all a timid child and always did what she wanted to, Mary went to the green door and turned the handle. She hoped the door would not open because she wanted to be sure she had found the mysterious garden. But it did open quite easily, and she walked through it and found herself in an orchard. There were walls all around it and trees trained against it, and there were bare fruit trees growing in the winter brown grass. But there was no green door to be seen anywhere. Mary looked for it, and yet when she had entered the upper end of the garden, she had noticed that the wall did not seem to end with the orchard, but to extend beyond it as if it enclosed a place at the other side. She could see the tops of trees above the wall, and when she stood still, she saw a bird with a bright red breast sitting on the topmost branch of one of them, and suddenly he burst into his winter song, almost as if he had caught sight of her and was calling to her. This is hard to do. She stopped and listened to him, and somehow his cheerful, friendly little whistle gave her a pleased feeling. Even a disagreeable little girl may be lonely, and the big closed house and Big Bear Moor and Big Bear Gardens had made this one feel as if there was no one left in the world but herself. If she had been an affectionate child who had been used to being loved, she would have broken her heart. But even though she was Mistress Mary quite contrary, she was desolate. And the bright breasted little bird brought a look into her sour little face, which was almost a smile. She listened to him until he flew away. He was not like an Indian bird, and she liked him, and wondered if she should ever see him again. Perhaps he lived in the mysterious garden and knew all about it. Perhaps it was because she had nothing whatever to do that she thought so much about the deserted garden. She was curious about it and wanted to see what it was like. Why had Mr. Archibald Craven buried the key? If he had liked his wife so much, why did he hate her garden? She wondered if she should ever see him, but she knew that if she did, she should not like him, and he would not like her, and that she should only stand and stare at him and say nothing, though she should be wanting dreadfully to ask him why he had done such a queer thing. People never like me, and I never like people, she thought, and I never can talk as the Crawford children could. They were always talking and laughing and making noises. She thought of the robin and of the way he seemed to sing his song at her, and as she remembered the treetop he perched on, she stopped rather suddenly on the path. Sorry, I'll make sure that was up. I believe that tree was in the secret garden. I feel sure it was, she said. Whew, this will make you tired. There was a wall around the place, and there was no door. She walked back into the first kitchen garden she had entered and found the old man digging there. She went and stood beside him and watched him a few moments in her cold little way. He took no notice of her, and so at last she spoke to him. I have been into the other garden, she said. There was nothing to prevent thee, he answered crustily. I went into the orchard. There was no dog at the door to bite thee, he answered. There was no door there into the other garden, said Mary. What garden? He said in a rough voice, stopping his digging for a moment. The one on the other side of the wall, answered Mistress Mary. There are trees there. I saw the top of them, and a bird with a red breast was sitting on one of them, and he sang. To her surprise, the surly old weather-beaten face actually changed its expression. A slow smile spread over it, and the gardener looked quite different. It made her think that it was curious how much nicer a person looked when he smiled. She had not thought of it before. He turned around to the orchard side of his garden and began to whistle, a low, soft whistle. She could not understand how much a surly man could make, I was laughing because whistle, you don't have teeth is a funny word, could make such a coaxing sound. Almost the next moment, a wonderful thing happened. She heard a soft little rushing flight through the air, and it was the bird with the red breast flying to them. And he actually alighted on the big clod of earth quite near to the gardener's foot. "Here he is," chuckled the old man, and then he spoke to the bird as if he were speaking to a child. "Where hast thou been, thou cheeky little beggar?" he said. "I have not seen thee before today. Hast thou begun thy courting this early in the season? Thou'rt too forward." The bird put his tiny head on one side and looked up at him with a soft right eye, which was like a black dewdrop. He seemed quite familiar and not the least afraid. He hopped about and pecked the earth briskly, looking for seeds and insects. It actually gave Mary a queer feeling in her heart because he was so pretty and cheerful and seemed so like a person. He had a tiny plump body and a delicate beak and slender, delicate legs. "Will he always come when you call him?" she asked, almost in a whisper. "Aye, that he will. I've known him ever since he was a fledgling." He come out of the nest in the other garden, and when first he flew over the wall, he was too weak to fly back for a few days, and we got friendly. When he went over the wall again with the rest of the brood, the rest of the brood was gone, and he was lonely, and he come back to me. "What kind of bird is he?" Mary asked. "Doesn't thou know? He's a robin redbreast, and they're the friendliest, curiousest birds alive. They're almost as friendly as dogs, if you know how to get on with them. Watch him pecking about here and looking around at us now and again. He knows we're talking about him." It was the queerest thing in the world to see the old fella. He looked at the plump little scarlet waistcoated bird as if he were both proud and fond of him. "He's a conceited one," he chuckled. "He likes to hear folk talk about him. And curious? Bless me, there never was his like for curiosity and meddling. He's always coming to see what I'm planting. He knows all the things Mr. Craven never troubles himself to find out. He's the head gardener, he is." Talk about the bird. The robin hopped about busily pecking the soil, and now and then stopped and looked at them a little. Mary thought his black dewdrop eyes gazed at her with great curiosity. It really seemed as if he were finding out all about her. The queer feeling in her heart increased. "Where did the rest of the brood fly to?" she asked. "There's no knowing. The old ones turn 'em out of the nest and make 'em fly, and they're scattered before you know it. This one was a knowing one, and he knew he was lonely." Mistress Mary went a step nearer to the robin and looked at him very hard. "I'm lonely," she said. She had not known before that this was one of the things which made her feel sour and cross. "Okay, Dana, don't cry." Dana from Tabitha's Treasure thinks it's sad. "It's going to get better." She seemed to find it out when the robin looked at her and she looked at the robin. The old gardener pushed his cap back on his bald head and stared at her a minute. "Art thou the little wench from India?" he asked. Mary nodded. "Then no wonder thou'rt lonely. Thou'lt be lonelier before thou's done," he said. He began to dig again, driving his spade deep into the rich black garden soil while the robin hopped about very busily employed. "What is your name?" Mary inquired. He stood up to answer her. "Ben Weatherstaff," he answered, and then he added with a surly chuckle, "I'm lonely myself, 'cept when he's with me," and he jerked his thumb toward the robin. "He's the only friend I've got." I have no friends at all, said Mary. I never had. My Ayah didn't like me, and I never played with anyone. It is a Yorkshire habit to say what you think with blunt frankness, and old Ben Weatherstaff was a Yorkshire moorman. Thy and me are a good bit alike, he said. We was wove out of the same cloth. We're neither of us good looking, and we're both of us as sour as we look. We've got the same nasty tempers, both of us, I'll warrant. This was plain speaking, and Mary Lennox had never heard the truth about herself in her life. Native servants always salamed and submitted to you, whatever you did. She had never thought much about her looks, but she wondered if she was as unattractive as Ben Weatherstaff, and she also wondered if she looked as sour as he had looked before the robin came. She actually began to wonder also if she was nasty-tempered. She felt uncomfortable. Suddenly a clear, rippling little sound broke out near her, and she turned round. She was standing a few feet from a young apple tree, and the robin had flown on to one of its branches and burst out into a scrap of a song. Ben Weatherstaff laughed outright. "What did he do that for?" asked Mary. "He's made up his mind to make friends with thee," replied Ben. "Dang me if he hasn't took a fancy to thee." "To me?" said Mary, and she moved toward the little tree softly and looked up. "Would you make friends with me?" she said to the robin, just as if she were speaking to a person. "Would you?" And she did not say it either in her hard little voice or in her imperious Indian voice, but in a tone so soft and eager and coaxing that Ben Weatherstaff was as surprised as she had been when she heard him whistle. "Why," he cried out, "thou said that as nice as any human, and as nice and human as if thou was a real child instead of a sharp old woman. Thou said it almost like Dickens talks to his wild things on the moor." "Do you know Dickens?" Mary asked, turning round rather in a hurry. "Everybody knows him. Dickens wandering about everywhere. And I wonder that he doesn't think Dickens is his friend. Thy very blackberries and heatherbells knows him. I warrant the foxes shows him where their cubs lie, and the skylarks doesn't hide their nests from him." Mary would have liked to ask some more questions. She was almost as curious about Dickon as she was about the deserted garden. But just at that moment, hang on a minute. Okay. But just at that moment, the robin who had ended his song gave a little shake of his wings, spread them, and flew away. He had made his visit and had other things to do. "He has flown over the wall," Mary cried out, watching him. "He has flown on to the orchard. He has flown across the other wall." I bet y'all can see this thing. Okay. I hope for your sake you can't. Into the garden, and where there is no door. "He lives there," said old Ben. "He came out of the egg there. If he's courting, he's making up to some young madam of a robin that lives among the old rose trees there." "Rose trees," said Mary. "Are there rose trees?" Ben Weatherstaff took up his spade again and began to dig. "There was 10 years ago," he mumbled. "I should like to see them," said Mary. "Where is the green door? There must be a door somewhere." Ben drove his spade deep and looked as uncompanionable as he had looked when she first saw him. "There was 10 years ago, but there isn't now," he said. "No door?" cried Mary. "There must be." "None as anyone can find, and none is as is anyone's business. Don't you be a meddlesome wench and poke your nose where there's no cause to go. Here, I must go on with my work. Get you going and play you. I've no more time. And he actually stopped digging, threw his spade over his shoulder, and walked off without even glancing at her or saying goodbye. Oh, thank goodness. We are at chapter 5 called The Cry in the Corridor. Hey, and I got a bookmark. And I hope you didn't see my mouth with no teeth. It's a sight. I love y'all. Woohoo, 1K. We'll have a party tomorrow at the live. Sandy had a party for me tonight at, what's her channel name? Left is Right Crochet. Love y'all. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. Night, night.